This video is going to be about the magic of fountains, because not only are they archaeologically amazing, architecturally amazing, but they have a power that is unlike anything we know of in this time: water. We are the people, the generation that drinks Coke, drinks alcohol like it's water, finds every way to make alcohol as tasty as possible, drinks everything that destroys our guts. But back in the day, people cared about what they put into their body, and not only that, it helped them. The water was, the stories that I hear about water, and what you'll hear in this, is that it is something totally different in the past. It was a magical healing thing that went in harmony with our bodies, a perfect combination for us, and it was pristine, it was pure, it worked absolutely as a blessing for all of us to heal, to bathe in, to do everything, to get rained on. Everywhere. Water was fresh, rivers, everywhere. You could drink it in the woods, you would feel revived from it, you could live, travel excessively through the wilderness and find water that was able to drink. Nowadays you'd be killed, God knows the bacteria that's in it, people get brain-eating amoebas from swimming in lakes. It's a disgrace compared to the way water was and how powerful it was and how much they honored it. Just by seeing some of the artworks and the structures based around these fountains, you know that they honored it with a purpose. The water to them was sacred, it was holy, it was their life source, and they treated it with respect like that. Now we put it in plastic that leaches chemicals into everything. I feel like I haven't had pure water in years, maybe decades, except for a couple that I've gotten that were bottled. But even you get some at Whole Foods and they find arsenic in the mines where they get it from. It's like nothing is trustworthy at all anymore. And you drink a water and you feel okay, but you don't feel like you're getting healed from it at all anymore. And it's because it's been recycled so much, it's been trashed, it's lost its magic, it lost its memory. Like the guy who finds the intentions imprint on crystals and water, and we are part of that, since we are made up of water and the earth is supposedly made up of water. But all these things that we know about, that we take for granted as, oh, that was passed on, and it's an easy way to sum up a massive subject. I have a feeling a lot of those things that we've been born to believe are completely wrong and backwards and designed to help us fail mentally. But back then, nothing was designed that way. Everything was designed to heal, too perfect, to be utilized perfectly. There was never any trash in any of these artworks, never anything wasteful, it barely, like, you never see sloth, you see beauty, mastery, incredible, impressive everything, art everywhere. And it might have had a lot to do with the water. Water is very important, as if you've seen Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, he talks about the water and ruining people's water systems. That is more accurate than most people realize, and the ancients knew much better. They would probably be puke if they drank the water that we are living off of and showering in and bathing in and drinking and eating with and cooking with. But hopefully there is hope somewhere, or there are some fountains that remain. But take a look at this from this particular book, and that I've been going with lately in some of these videos and theorizing around. But at some stories about fountains from this I have never heard of before. So here we go, the magic of fountains. I hope you all enjoy this. Let's rock. Chapter 12, page 377, of certain fountains, lakes, rivers, etc. in this country. Near Potosi, at the bottom of the valley Tarapai, there lies a lake, round as 'twere drawn with a compass, and the water so hot that but at the brims there is no enduring it, but 30 paces forward 'tis impassable, notwithstanding the country round about it is excessively cold. In the middle it boils and runs round, that you would think some tempest were underneath. From this lake they draw a channel that sets certain leather engines at work, useful for the mines without any waste of the water. We'll get into mines in the next video. Titicaca in Callao is famous for largeness, in bearing vessels of burthen. Fish abounds in it, whereof the inhabitants round about take great quantity, very sweet, good, and commodious for passengers, to whom they freely give part of their fish, taking with them certain hand engines. If a priest come that way, they will present him 1,000 civilities, and he is happy with whom he will lodge. One is in perfect security amongst them, not understanding what theft means, and you may trust them with all the treasure of the world, while you live like good Christians. Throughout the country there are abundance of other lakes, as that of Upama in Brazil, whence so many rivers issue, and amongst others the great Paraguay or Plata, which make inundations like Nile, but not so moderately, for Nile comes without any injury, but on the contrary with all commodity, whereas Plata breaks with fury into the country for 3 months together, coursing from the Cordilleras in Peru to the South Sea. They have a way to pass rivers upon floats of gourds or pompions fastened together, which they use for all sort of carriage. In some places they have bridges of straw. The Spaniards have built stone bridges which the Indians much admire, and at first had no confidence to trust themselves upon bridges in the air. It's funny. Now for their fountains. Near the Cape St. Helen in Peru there is a fountain of liquor, burns like oil. 'Tis a certain bitumen or gum, which they call copi or copal, that never decreases how much soever is taken out. Mariners used to liquor their cordage with it. The like is in the Isle of Lobos in Mexico, which the mariners can smell 3 miles at sea, and more, if the wind sit right. In Cusco there are fountains, the water whereof immediately congeals into white salt, in which Peru abounds. In Guancahuixica there are hot springs that condense to stone, whereof they build their houses, but the water drunk is mortal. Wherefore they stop up all highways to it, for it causes a present heaviness, and then they die immediately. They have many other fountains, hot and cold, close together, some whereof cure the French disease, though never so confirmed, by reason of the sarsaparilla that grows in them. It seems, this is just a thought of me, seems like so many are so unique that it's like another one of those things that inevitably someone had to profit from. Like, like how we have so many different kinds of soda, different kinds of drinks, different kinds of medicine. It was almost as if the earth was pumping these things out everywhere in abundance, and somebody had to make money, and everything became horrible. Okay, here we go. In Peru, there's a stream red as blood, for that called Rio Vermelho. In Caramel, they have another fountain, cures all fevers, and purges like rhubarb. The water is brackish and salt at the first taste, but afterwards one feels nothing, but may drink his fill without damage. It drives through the body all that is malignant, then passes clear. I thought I should have vomited my bowels up, but afterwards I found myself sound and cheerful, and cured of a rheum in my teeth I had been troubled with for a long time. I drunk 3 flagons a day, and still it provoked me to drink more. They come to it from all parts, and for all diseases, even for wounds. And the place is made so necessary one may bathe in it. 'Tis only hurtful to hot livers. Round about it are tents of straw and beds of cotton and sheepskins, where you shall have all accommodation for a small matter, and they will officiously fetch and furnish you with anything you want. Amongst others they bring us a fowl called magnota, more delicate than a partridge, another that is white and black, and eats like a capon, and abundance of turtles. But of lakes, where is there any so admirable as that whereon the town of Mexica is seated, whereof one part by reason of saltpeter at the bottom is salt as the sea, the other by reason of the rivers that fall into the fresh as any fountain, each division being 10 leagues in length and 5 in breadth, and 3 days' journey in circuit, with a delightful mountain in the middle, and a bath hot as that at Ballaru. In the middle of the lake is the charnel of green tombs, ever covered with herbs and flowers. Wow! The Spaniards have laid most of the town dry, being before in the manner of Venice, and have made conduits that convey water throughout the town, and chiefly round the walls. Out of avarice, the new conquerors admit not the Indians to fish on the lake without license, who now, contrary to articles, enjoy not their ancient liberties, neither in this nor other things. Again, another example of capitalization. Money, the giant ruiner of earth. There are 3 causeways led to the town of half a league long. They account upon 4,000 houses of Spaniards and 30,000 Indians. For rivers you have 3 spacious lakes, or rather seas, as the Magdala in the province of St. Martha, called Rio Grande. Then the Orinoco towards Castilla of gold in Venezuela. The Silver River in Brazil, coming from mountains far remote from Peru. Above all, the great Auxiliana, or Marañón in Amazones, which cuts through the South America, and Chachanejas and Quito, through infinite territories and dominions to the northern sea. And I'll also add that even the island of Aruba, the small, tiny island about 20 miles in length, has several gold mines all over the island. And there was definitely something big there, and I think a pyramid in the center. Here we go. This river comes from the province of Araxico, or de los Quixos, near to Popayan, and 30 leagues from the South Sea, discovered first by Francisco Orellano, a Spanish captain sent thither by Gonzalo Pizarro, who had fought along this river for the land of Canela. In missing the wealth he fought for, and finding the trees few in number and of small value, not lighting on the country of the prince surnamed Dorado in I-562, 1562, he sent Orellano with 50 men to seek provision, view the country, and attend this coming in an appointed place. The captain following the stream, which still grew wider by the rivers that everywhere augmented it, going 50 leagues a day without oar or labor. For a long while he discovered no habitations. Go up again he could not, and by land there was nothing but woods and bushes. After he had suffered plenty of hunger, he met with several people and of several tongues and conditions, some mild and courteous, others fierce and savage, pursuing his way without card, compass, or guide by many islands and populous countries, amongst others of Amazons, the female archers, of whom there are some courtesans at Brazil, not much discrepant from those antiquity renowns in Asia, who co-inhabit not with men, and at certain times have neighbors come over to them for procreation, to whom again they transmit the males and keep the girls. Very interesting. I wonder how many women today are descendants of the Amazons. It'd be nice to be able to find that out. After a tedious navigation and many turns and compasses for above 1,700 leagues upon this river, he came to the confusion of it in the North Sea. 40 leagues over, following the coast, he arrived at Cubaga, or the Isle of Pearls, which is above 400 leagues, whence Orellano, with 14 of his men being recruited, came to Santo Domingo afterwards, made an ample relation to the emperor, where Oide took his instructions and inserted it in his history. Interesting. Meanwhile Pizarro expected, and having suffered extreme hunger, seeing Orellano came not, he returned to Quito much troubled, and found not the sought for Dorado, a golden prince indeed, who wore no other garment but pulverized gold, laid with gum, with which he goes daily covered. To conclude, this is one of the greatest and longest rivers on the earth, and washes more lands and people than any other. Afterwards many other Spaniards sailed it, as Salinas Orbia and others. Add hereto the great lake or ocean Guiana, Parimi, and Manoa, in countries discovered by the English, Sir Walter Raleigh in 1595, who equals it with the Caspian Sea that contains many islands. The capital town is Manoa, a country rich in gold, fruit, and cattle. North lies Castile of gold, Paria, and Carabana. West, New Andalusia in Peru. South, Omaga, Pegu, Picora, Pigana. East, Tichnata, Brazil, etc. Concerning beasts in America, there are great numbers as well, the natural of the country, as European transported, which are multiplied exceedingly. Amongst others in Mexico, there is one the Spaniards call an armadillo, armed with scales like the rhinoceros, in shape like a little pig about the size of a cat, and lives in burrows like a rabbit. The paca-cow, like a fox, that preys on dead men's carcasses and digs them up, however deep soever. I have seen of them in Asia and Africa, where they call them chicali. There are birds called condoros, which the Chacapayos of Peru adore. These will carry away a sheep, tear in pieces and eat him. They are ash-colored like a sea crow. Others again so minute they seem rather flies or gnats. Another sort that is 'twere all feathers and none or little flesh, and as they say never comes upon the earth. Their feathers are of various colors, in perfection beautiful. When they rest they hang on a bow by the tail, clasped round it. Their plumes are worn and much esteemed. In Marseille I saw one sold for 500 crowns. In Portugal they come at 60. The Indians of these curious feathers make portraits as artificial as those in colors, nor can they well be discerned asunder. The guacamayes have more beautiful and curious feathers than the paraquito. They affect plumes throughout all India, but in Mexico above others, for wear, for adornment of their temples and idols, and to make portraits of their fashion. Feathers are their good chafer. I saw an Indian truck pearls with a Levantian, so they term us. For feathers he brought with him, which cost him but 5 crowns, and he had above 300 pearls for them. This was a poor mariner who made a fortune by it, for he made many voyages afterwards to the Indies, with a good ship and merchandises of his own. It's funny, people were doing that back then. They were then likewise in their dances. First one, called the tamari, dances single, then makes a sign to a lady to come dance with him. Then others follow after the same rule. But would they never kiss nor touch hands, and use all respect to their women. Of fish there are abundance of crocodiles and tiburons that are man-eaters. The manatee that suckles her young ones with teats hath legs to walk by land, and eats fruit and grass. The flesh is good like veal. There are many about the isles of Barlovento and coasts of Peru, Cape Magdalen, and the isles of Solomon. They are very good to salt and eat like powdered beef. There are abundance of whales, but they are ignorant how to take them. The Floridians take them and make their chiefest sustenance of them. The flesh dried in the sun they make into flour, and without wetting eat in powder, and it nourishes them exceedingly. Another fish with wings flies as swift as an arrow. They are like mackerels, but not so good meat. The merry that swim always against stream, and the Indians say, in August, have a worm in their head, vexing them, and makes them go upward, that the water entering at a little hole may refresh them. Another fort called Purple, streaked with diverse colors that they eat roasted, and is meat for sick persons. They have foals of extraordinary growth, weighing 10 or 12 pounds, but the flesh is hard. V. cognes are like deer without horns, greater than goats, living on mountains without fear or frost of snow. In their bowels they have a stone of the virtue of the unicorn or beefar against poison. They bear a wool as fine as silk, whereof they make summer garments that refresh them. The flesh is good against diverse diseases. The stone is like a pellet's egg, black or gray. This beast, they say, having eaten some poisonous herbs, eats another called capas, proper against poison, and so breeds this stone of the same virtue. There are little wild swine called sains that go in herds and are very dangerous. Others that are also very dangerous to take if the hunters have not good assistants, which are good meat, and the grease of them serves for oil, for Spanish oil is their very dear. There is likewise a very heavy beast called menacatl, covered with pikes like the hedgehog, that will dart them at a distance, and a snout like a hog, but nothing so big, and a short foot. He is very good meat. There is also another sort of crocodile, of which we found one hunting in the forest of Caramel, and we judged him to be 7 or 8 paces long. And after we had viewed him a while, we raised him and put him to fight, with strange adulations. Of apes and monkeys there are great numbers of all sorts and sizes, some as little as rats or mice with a white beard, that will imitate as they see, and are very serviceable, as I have seen at Seville, that seem to have a kind of reason. In Candia I saw another, that the master bidding him go stand sentinel, and look if he could discover any sail, would presently climb the mast, or get upon the lanthorn, and if he discovered any vessel, would make signs and cry out, and was ever very certain. Their sheep, called llamas, or pacos, serve for all carriages with fine wool, whereof they make combi and afra for their apparel. One of these sheep will carry 8 heavy jars 9 or 10 leagues a day, but like mules they are humorsome, and one must have patience to please them, and expect their good mood before they will travel. In New Spain they have a spicalco, about the size of a hare, with a fur so fine 'tis not for any but persons of quality to wear it. They say the blood of it drunk breaks the stone in the bladder in a few days. For spices, in the Isle of Barlovento there is abundance of sugars, as also in Brazil, ginger, mastic, aloes, cassia, cinnamon. In Carabana they have likewise cinnamon, and in Canela upon Orellano, beyond the Quixos, where Gonzalo Pizarro went to look it, for he was told to form it was little different from that in Borneo, Malucos, and Ceylon, that the other grew in canes and reeds, but this on certain fair trees that bore a fruit like an acorn, and that the bark was cinnamon. The fruit is not pleasant, nor the bark so good as the cane, nevertheless they make use of both. Pizarro at length, after great toil, found the trees upon a mountain, in small number and of little value. Other trees of such compass, good dwellings may be made within the bodies of them, which they call cesbarach. Some in New Hispaniola 8 men cannot fathom about, and of flight shot in height, on the top whereof they make arbors. So, interesting. Again, not totally all about the fountains, although it had some of that in there, but the animals as well. Also very interesting. And even the fact that the animals, the blood of the animals could cure ridiculous diseases. The meat was even healthy at this point in time. This is a sign that there is just so different. It's really as if, and I always feel this way whenever I'm trying to find food anywhere, because I eat only things that are not covered in chemicals, but it is more and more like they want to whoever the powers that be want so badly to poison and toxify this world. They are doing it at an alarming rate. There is no other reason to it. But you read all these stories from the past about how perfect everything was, how healthy everything was. They don't even know what trash is. Even the fact that these foreigners and these tribes treated the women so beautifully. Again, nowadays they're making men into women, and the things that they're doing are sickening. The whole media industry, the all of America, the all of culture of America goes against these natural instincts of all of us. We want clean food. We want a healthy mind. We want to live happily. We want to be in nature. Everything from our shelters to our food to our medicine to the way we grow plants, the way the plants are around, the way we destroy animals, the way we poison everything, the way we utilize nothing properly, the way we conserve nothing, the way we treat the earth with complete disrespect and want to control it and want to show dominance over it. All of these things are unnatural, alien to the human form, to the soul, to the spirit, and to the planet. And that is what the powers that be continuously push into us. Constant, just taking us as far away from this magical realm that these books show as possible. It's really just sickening to me. And it's an ever-present feeling when you dive deep into these, because I just want that world back. And it also seems like we're so far gone that it's going to be almost impossible to purify this world to that level. We almost need to find a new zone, new land beyond the poles, where they haven't botched it and targeted it for destruction like this is, where the powers that be, the people with all the money and all the power and ability to do things, just constantly desecrate the land and the power and the humanity and life, from the smallest to the biggest, from the underground of the bottom of the sea to the top of the sky. They are destroying everything in our lifetime, in our generations. This past 100 years of America has been so destructive towards the world, and the same with all these other countries that are following the lead and all part of the same clique, the evil clique of devastation, when all we want is to be pure and be happy. All the people, all the good, normal people, even that whether you're in a tribe in the random nowhere connected to no one, with a completely different religion, completely different world, you still have these same innate things. Respect the women, they give life. Respect the plants, respect the land around you, respect the water. All these things we have lost, or they have tried to force us to lose respect for, to feel like our ego is superior to, when back in the day everyone was on the same page. All life was on the same page in some way, where they respected things. They respected purity. They knew it healed. They knew it did all these things. And as a result, it had all these powers. It had these abilities to do things now that we can't even imagine. Now the meat that people eat is from God knows where, in terrible conditions, frozen, thawed out, warmed, frozen again, who knows, worms just riddled with it, thousands of animals packed into one burger, different pieces, all different, ground up disgustingness. There is no health in any of it. There's no health in our waters. There's no health in anything anymore. It's becoming harder and harder, and we're getting close to a tipping point with devastated soil, devastated water. What else can you do? How are you supposed to grow something? Air that's trash and filled with toxins, metals, all this nanotech garbage that these idiots are profiting off of so they can be even stupider and be even more evil. It's just a sickening cycle that needs to end. And I love these glimpses, and I know they're not tons packed with amazing insight, but if you think about it and you compare it, there's definitely a lot packed in each of these ancient texts, and every single one of them has something that we can take out of it and utilize and maybe work towards. So I hope you all enjoyed this one on the magic of fountains and the ancient animals, and there's going to be more to come, so stay tuned. And just as a final thought, as I added a little more pictures and got me thinking a little bit about these fountains, that they exist all over Europe, and then this book that I read was talking about them in America, and it makes you think back to the master civilization that either discovered or first found these, and the way they honor them with fountains is worthy of it. This substance, water, with the way the healing properties and magic that they talk about in these old books, is worthy of all this decoration. But what is underneath? How did they find the sources? How did they navigate it, the pipes and the things? And I've always thought about there being civilizations underground at various areas, and maybe just unifying between the above ground and the bottom ground, and working in harmony and constructing for purposes to get things out. And who knows? But either way, this is just a phenomenal collection of things, and we need to treat water with respect like they did back then. It is a divine thing. Without it, we would not be here, and they recognize that with this art and worship and venerance of it. And someday we will too, I hope. Bless you all.